And we are live back in a brand new week with our Snack and Learns for the Profit Concierge Group. Hey, everybody, welcome to another new week as we burn our way through April here. Spring is finally up in the air here in the Pennsylvania area. My guest today is in Arkansas, where I hear it's already humid. So everybody's probably facing their new, we're now into spring weather. And I just want to welcome you. That always gives me a new, no pun intended, spring in my step. So I am going to stop wasting your time with my rambling and introduce Shelby. She is the founder of Fempire Media, which is and she and her company are a Facebook ads and online marketing expert. The thing I love about her, she's a girl who loves to make you laugh and encourage the heck out of you. Her approach to Facebook ads, which is absolute Greek to me without this kind of a person involved, is the same as a lot of people say about finances in their business.
Yeah.
And I love your approach. She's passionate about helping entrepreneurs get out of those long hours, get out of that hustle. And really, the thing I love is you're really helping them start to scale. So Shelby, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on to drop some wisdom on us.
Thank you for having me.
Love having you. And I love that wall behind you. Tell me about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I painted it. So it's
Oh
just
my
white
God.
paint. And then I took like a little sponge tip and I just made little dots on the wall. It was fun.
You clearly have a lot more patience than I do, because that had to take some time.
You know, it took about like 1.5 podcast episodes.
I love it. The thing that would have been a problem for me there is I would have never been okay with, like, I'd have worried that a place was more busy than another place. And then I'd have tried to fill it in. And by the time I was done, it would be a solid dark color.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how did you keep how did you do that? Or are you just naturally creative so that didn't bother you?
I'm naturally creative, but I still had to go back. I went back a couple times to like fill in places where I was like, and then I had like, you know, my mom came over one day and I was like, check this out. What do you think? Is there any gaps here? You know, I'm like asking everybody, what do you think?
It worked. I love the background. That is so
Thank
cool.
you.
People, like, I'm seeing all over online that people are just having nightmares with Facebook ads right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your take on all that? What's driving the problem all of a sudden? It's not the election anymore. What's happening out there? What's happening in your wild world?
Yeah. So iPhones, Apple came out with an update called iOS 14. And I think it was response to a lot of people's concerns about privacy issues. And so what is there? There's a great documentary that came out on Netflix. I guess.
Yeah.
Social Dilemma. The Social Dilemma.
Thank you.
So, and a lot of it was, I felt as though that documentary, so a lot of it was true, but you know, some of it was kind of like sensationalized a little bit, but as most documentaries are, right? But but I like documentaries, but
but they are a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, right? We can always spin something to sensationalize.
This one was definitely trying to convey a very particular message.
Right. Yeah. And so about kind of privacy issues with the internet. And for advertisers, we have access, and like historically, we've had access to a lot of information and data that these platforms collect from its users. So for instance, for Facebook, it being one of the largest platforms, you know, it has so much data. And the reason why is because we give it to them, right? So we go on Facebook. Yep. And we say, oh, started a new job at, you know, blankety blank. And then we tell Facebook where we live, what city we live in, and we tell them where we work. And so Facebook takes that data and it goes, okay, your job is 25 miles from your house. So that means you commute. And so now advertisers have access to a database of people who commute to work, right? Now, so it's selling this data to advertisers. So for me, as an advertiser, and somebody who helps small businesses, I like this, right? I like having this access to this information because it allows me to help small businesses find their ideal clients. And so it's good for businesses, but for individuals, it could be a little creepy, right? same thing goes for if you have like the Messenger app on your phone. You've actually given Facebook permission to listen in on your conversation. So if you've ever like, had a conversation with somebody and said like, I really need to buy a lawnmower, but I would really like one of those ones that you sit on, like a sitting lawnmower. Maybe it's red. I don't know. I just really want that, and then like, 5 minutes later you get an advertisement on your Facebook for a riding lawnmower, right? Like this, we all have those stories of like, oh my gosh, are they listening to us? And the answer is yes, they are.
Yep.
So Apple has responded to this with an update, and it's essentially, I've already gotten it for several apps when I open them for the first time. And this is going to be for all apps, not just Facebook, but you open the app and it says, do you want to give this platform permission to track your data? And then you can click allow or don't allow, essentially. And if you click don't allow, then that application cannot track you.
Got it.
So give it permission.
But which version of the iOS is that?
iOS 14, and it's rolling out. I've gotten it for some apps, and for some apps I have not gotten it. So
so it's not my phone that's getting updated. The app's actually getting updated, or when it hits my phone after I update my phone?
I believe it's the like update of iOS. So like the run, and then because of that update, apps will have to update to, I believe,
to comply, to work.
Correct. Okay. And so as this is all rolling out, you'll start to notice that when you open an app, maybe that you haven't opened in a while, or whatever, you open up an app and then it'll prompt you with this question. You can allow it or not allow it.
Got it.
And so for advertisers or people that are advertising, this can be kind of crappy because, we're not able to track something. So for instance, Pam, let's say that you clicked on my ad, but you are not allowing Facebook to track you any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're on Facebook and you see my ad and you're like, oh, wow, that looks great. And you click on it, I'm not able to see.
Whereas you used to be able to do the thing called retargeting.
Correct. So it's affecting retargeting ads.
Okay.
But it's also affecting a lot of other little things.
Talk to me about that. What implications is it having in the Facebook world?
So so we used to be able to have like a little, we would call it an attribution window, Facebook calls it. And essentially all it means is that for like 28 days, it would track you. So let's say you clicked on my ad and then you clicked out of it and then you came back on my website 2 weeks later, and then you bought something. Facebook would be like, had that little tracking device on you, like a little cookie. So it knows that you came back and bought. So it would track you like, okay, this person came from your ads because that's how they found you originally. And so it has all that. That's really good data to know, right? I want to know that as a business owner that you found me from advertisement and you purchased from me. Even if it wasn't an initial purchase, I still have that little cookie that's tracking you for 28 days. And now it's only 7. So right now, I'm not able to track you for 28 days. I can only track you for 7 days. And so although that's effective, like I do want to know that for 7 days, but it used to be a lot longer, which benefited us. So this helps a lot for people who have multiple things to purchase online. So for instance, we have a client who has a lot of different little like mini courses and little programs. And so what would happen is we're running ads to a $67 course. And if they click on it and buy something, and if they bought something a week later, it would show up. So we know, okay, this much income, this much revenue has come from this much ad spend.
Okay.
Total. So we know that like hey, your ads are working, or you should continue to run ads because, you're bringing in this much revenue. It's easy for us to kind of see those numbers, but it's a little bit, it's hard. And you would appreciate this, right? With being a numbers gal, it's hard for us to see true data and true numbers. We have to do a lot more work. We didn't have to do so much work. So
okay, so it's making it harder on our Facebook ad consultants because they got to do more to provide the same level of service. Is it making the costs go up?
It is.
Okay. And it's getting you less well-targeted traffic?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
So it depends. There's tricks around things. There's always tricks. So your good advertisers are figuring out where you can, get the little shortcuts to things and tricks. So we're finding, and this is what one of my mentors told me, back in December when we were kind of told this was rolling out. And of course, a lot of us advertisers are like freaking out, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What should we expect? What should we tell our clients? And one of my mentors told me this will separate the bad advertisers and the good advertisers. So all the people that are wanting to be ads managers that don't have a lot of experience, they're not going to have access to the kind of data and information that you have and the experience that you have. And so it'll kind of really make the cream rise to the top. And so I was like, okay, that's, we're going to keep our ear to the ground and really figure out what's happening. But I think that's what's happening a lot is like a lot of people who are running their own ads too are struggling. And my heart goes out to them because I have like a big, and that's part of what I do too, is I like to educate people on ads. So a lot of people are struggling because they don't know those little shortcuts and the little nuances and little things that we have figured out. And, we've heard from other ads experts and we're all kind of like talking to each other. And I think the industry as a whole is pretty secretive.
Yeah, man, they keep the client so the client needs them. And some of these things that you imagine you can do yourself aren't things that make sense to do yourself anyway, because they are so complicated. But one of the things, guys, hang on to the end here or check the comments, whether you're live or replay, because we're going to drop a free opportunity that's happening tomorrow, and how to get there in the comments below, where Shelby's going to talk to people about some stuff. And we're going to share that a little bit later. But the biggest tidbit I'm getting here is pay attention if you are outsourcing your ad work. Pay attention to these things and make sure that the person you have in place for you is keeping up with all this industry change, because this is going to have a massive impact on every dollar you spend. Don't be surprised if that provider comes back and says, hey, this is it's a whole different game now to provide you the same level of service. To get that level of service now, the prices are going to start going up in this industry. And me being a CFO who likes people to focus on their pricing, I hope that's actually happening for these providers, because if they're spending more to provide the same level of service, they have to reflect that in the pricing, except for the ways that you might be able to, like you said, find the ways to shortcut, still get that same value for less work for your clients. That makes a ton of sense. Is the same thing happening on Instagram then?
Yes. So Facebook owns Instagram. So essentially it's the same. So, what I will say, the things that are being most affected are, like we said, about, great
we'll
question.
Come to that question in a minute. Yeah, it's a great question. So I didn't want to leave.
What we're seeing is like custom conversion. So those of you which is definitely a more advanced kind of thing anyways. So those of you who have been maybe running ads before, or maybe you have outsourced this and they have custom conversions set up, we're recommending that you don't use custom conversions right now, because the tracking and all of that is a little funky. So we want to make sure that you have as pure of data as possible. So that's what we're working on. And the thing is, data talks, numbers tell a story. And so we want to make sure at the end of the day, our goal is really to get that data, right? Because then we know what is this telling us? And then we can go from there and make decisions. So custom conversions are not working. And then you said something about making sure that the person running your ads has set you up. Make sure that they have verified your domain name with Facebook. That is like the most important thing that you need to do. And if you haven't done that yet and you are running ads, stop your ads and go do that, because your ad account may get shut down very soon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If that doesn't happen.
That's important. Thank you. I dropped that up there in the comments as well. And then we have a question from Valentino. What's your take on Facebook boosting? That's always confused me too. It's like, wow, that looks neat, but it feels so out of left field for something where you're really trying. I don't even know why I'd be doing it. Like, because I get more looks at it. No, that's not a really productive use of advertising, right?
Right. That's all it is that it's just getting more people to look at something.
Okay.
So it's, in my opinion, and I know most professional advertisers are going to tell you the exact same thing. If you're going to spend the money, don't boost a post. They're really not that effective, but Facebook makes a lot of money at it on that.
Wow.
But I would definitely go in and run an ad inside of Ads Manager, because you have a lot more control and you have a lot more data if you do it that way.
With the same post.
You could do the same exact post. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just have a lot more options inside there.
Correct.
Something I'm always fascinated with is what makes a good ad, number one. And I know that's a very broad question, but it also changes a lot. So like in 2021, what makes a good Facebook ad if you're trying to, let's just say you're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
Let's cut through the chase and say, hey, trying to sell something, what makes it a good ad?
That's one of my favorite questions.
Oh, cool.
So, what makes a good ad? Here's my best tips for you is first, video. Like, video is very underutilized. And it's funny because I was just on somebody's podcast and the lady was like, really? I see video ads like all the time. Like, all the ads I see are videos. And I was like, well, you're going to see more of it because video is becoming more popular, right? People are watching more video content than reading content. So I recommend, and video ads, by the way, are some of your least expensive ads. So they're going to be the cheapest ads that you can run.
So it's not passé yet. Video is not overused yet.
It's not overused yet.
Awesome.
Make sure that your videos are less than 2 minutes. And another hot tip is that story ads, so Instagram story, Facebook story ads, are sometimes really effective. For me, it just depends on your offer, and you always want to test everything, because what works for Gary V may not work for you, and what works for, whatever. Yeah, I'm just giving, what works for so-and-so may not work for you. Marie Forleo's, ads, her offers are going to be different. Her audience is going to be slightly different. So you always want to test different things to see what works for you. As a whole though, video ad, we try to do video ad with all of our clients. And then we have been playing around heavily with story ads. So we run our ads just only on Instagram stories and Facebook stories. And sometimes we've seen like $4 a registration for a workshop, which would normally cost on average like $8. So it's like half the price.
Wow.
So, and again, it just really depends on your brand, your offer, all of that. So keep that in mind. Test it.
Test
it with your business. And then, okay, so what makes an irresistible Facebook ad is your graphics and video, because that's the first thing people see visually. We are on our phones so much. scrolling, looking for something, and we're just scanning through things. We don't look at stuff. We don't read all the things. So it has to create, when people are doing this, the bottom line is that you want to create a pattern interrupt for the user, because they're doing this and it needs to look different. It needs to capture their attention and capture it quickly so that they look at your ad and then they go up and read the caption area of your ad, like the written portion, which we call ad copy, right? Then they read it, right? We need to capture their attention. And so what do we do? What makes people stop their scroll is color, bright colors, fun shapes. Think about Facebook's branding. It's all blue, right? So an overuse of the color blue is going to blend in.
I love that.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that think about the user, their experience. They're on a phone or a tablet or a computer. Everything is rectangle or square. Okay. And every post is usually rectangle or square. Except for your profile picture on Facebook and Instagram, that is a circle, right? A little circle.
Yep.
But everything else is a square or a rectangle. So if you have a very boxy looking graphic, do you think that that's going to create a pattern interrupt? No. You want to create fluid shapes, circles. Those types of things are going to look different than everything else. And that will make them slow their scroll and look at your graphic and read the text on it or whatever.
Wow, this is gold. I can't believe that. I'm going to show that here because I just took some notes while you were doing it, but it's a lot of words. But really, what I heard was you want to stand out. It never occurred to me. Squares, everything they're looking at is a square. So what do we do to make it pop? It's like your wall.
Yeah.
Such a simple thing, but so effective. And we need to think about that with our ads. We want people to stop. So I've got a square logo. Well, that's dumb. Not dumb. You know what I mean? That's not going to pop out. Use maybe curvy shapes and stuff instead of boxier ones. Make your background interesting instead of standard, and stay away from the color blue. This is gold, guys. Gold. So if you're on replay or live, you got to drop in here. Which of these things really jumped out at you? Because we have the luxury of having Shelby in our group. And I know if you tag her, she will also answer any of your questions. But mostly what I'm really excited about here is that starting tomorrow, she's got a workshop happening inside this Facebook group. Now, I'm going to also copy this Facebook group into the comments below in every place that we're streaming this. But it's a 2-day free workshop by Shelby, and it's about how to create those irresistible Facebook ads. And just here in 10 minutes, I've learned 4 things I'm going to look at in my ads. I'm sure I love this, how to create irresistible ads and stop creating ads that suck. That's the bottom line. That's what we all need. So this is fantastic. And you've dropped incredible info for us in here as well.
Thank you.
One of the things you talked about that I find really interesting and want to explore with you for a minute, if you're willing, is what we do try to do this ourselves a lot as Facebook users. And we think because we're Facebook users and because it's available to us to use, that we can do it. And one of the actual master classes that I do is on this very thing. And I talk about how when we're pricing our things, we don't actually want to just price it takes this many hours to do this thing, blah, blah, blah. We have a specialty. We have a special sauce where, let's just take this for an example. I could do a Facebook ad and I could go out there and do it wrong 80 times, probably not know it was wrong, only think that these are the results I'm supposed to get. I could take days to create it and I wander around this path like this. And, if here is what I'm aiming for, I end up somewhere down here and out of the frame. And that cost me money, cost me time, cost me foregone revenue, and cost me a lot of frustration. And I missed the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the service that you offer says, okay, I know you want to get here, and I know the straight line from where you are to there, and I can do this for you.
Yes.
And when we are pricing our services, we need to make sure that we take that into account. It's not about how many hours you're spending or what it costs you to do it. It's about the value you just brought to me. If I would have spent $8,000 doing that mess because I've got lost revenue, I've got all the things, you don't price me at $100 an hour. That's not how this should work.
Right.
And I'm interested in whether you came by that revelation like naturally, or if it was a struggle for you like it is for so many people, and how to price our stuff.
That's a great question. When I started off, I definitely struggled, and I think I felt as though I had to like earn my stripes. And so I took jobs I shouldn't have taken. I worked with clients that I shouldn't have worked with, but I learned a lot. It's nothing lost when I look back at it, because I learned a lot of hard lessons I could have learned from a mentor, a lot sooner had I. I'm all about, like, you said something great about like learning from somebody. Like, that's how I feel about coaching or mentors. Like paying somebody who's where you want to be, or who can take you where you want to be, because they will illuminate the path.
Yes.
If you don't have somebody like that, you can really only see right in front of your feet. And sometimes you're going to miss your steps and fall. I believe that if you don't have a mentor or somebody who's helping you in a certain area of your business that you are wanting to grow in, then you're going to fail a lot more. And failure is great. I love failure.
Yeah, me too.
I love failure. However, when you have somebody there beside you, you can get up a lot quicker when you do fall, because they're like, hey, brush it off. Don't worry. That happened to me a couple years ago. It isn't that bad. Like, and then you're like, oh, no worries, cool. And then you keep going. But if you don't know, you don't have anybody there, you're going to be like, this kind of sucks. And like,
this
maybe
is
I'm
the
not
end of the world.
do
My business has to close, all of those things. That's a really good point. I love the idea of mentors for this, because, like I said, I struggled through this. I didn't have a mentor early on. I came out of corporate all cocky that, well, I was a success in corporate. I can conquer this entrepreneur thing. Well, it took me about 5 minutes to learn how arrogant that was and wrong, dead dog wrong. I like to say it took me 5 minutes, but it kind of took me a couple of years, because I kept trying to do it all myself in a couple of years. And I was doing this, billing for the hour, an old corporate thing that I used to do. And then I realized, that's not the case. And I think in this group, there are a lot of people like that. So, couple things I will encourage you to do is ask your questions here, because we have a group member who's willing to answer them. And this is somebody who clearly brings value to her clients and all the people that she offers this to. So again, I just thank you so much for that. But think about what's happening if you have an ad strategy. Are you trying to implement something yourself that would really be a lot more profitable to you if you hired an expert to cut through all that cost that you may not see as cost, but truly is cost, because it's costing you quicker revenue and a better answer and all of those things. So this is just fresh on my mind, because I literally posted the video yesterday or 2 days ago on pricing.
Yeah.
So, clearly seeing how much value you bring to the table, I'm like, this is such a great example of this. So
strategic pricing is so important.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation we have a family member who's starting a business, and we're like, okay, like, you have to think about, not right now, but in a couple of months, like, are you going to be able to fulfill all of this work? No, you're going to have to hire team members to help you. So how much do you want to hire team members? What kind of quality of team do you want to have? You're going to have to pay them this much. So if you pay them this much, look at you're only going to make $2 an hour after that. Is that something that you want to do? Or are you wanting to make more money? Like, did you get into business to have a really stressful job? Or did you get into business to have more flexibility? And if you got into business to have more flexibility and be able to like go travel around, or,
freedom with your family. Yeah,
exactly. Then you want to make sure that you're pricing yourself strategically, but also pricing yourself for scalability and growth, because as you build a business, if you're consistent in your money making activities and all of that, you're gonna get to a place when you're gonna need more revenue to make investments to grow, to like keep up with the business. So if you don't price yourself well, you're gonna get into a real pickle.
Yeah, very quickly. That's one of the things I work with on my clients very early on is the pricing, because it's the kind of thing that once you get there, it's hard to dig out.
Yeah.
And both emotionally and physically with your existing clients. And that's something that people get challenged with a lot, I think. So that's a lot of, boy, we're getting a lot more than marketing out of this guy. This is really, really good. Thank you so much for this. I did have one more question. Darn it. It's gone out of my head. Oh, 59-year-old brain. Hang on. Shoot. It had to do with mentors. If I think of it, I'll drop it in the comments. But folks, I do just want to reiterate here, if you are curious about how to put together an irresistible ad and not stop creating ads that suck, check out this Facebook group. And again, we'll copy this down in the comments, but check out this Facebook group because it's going to be a free 2-day workshop run by this amazing woman who has also going to hang around in our group and answer questions over the next couple of days. If you drop them in the comments, drop them in, tag her. Thank you so, so much. And again, if there's anything we can do in the Profit Concierge group, Shelby, reach out. We're glad to do that as well. There are a ton of people in here with lots of different stuff. So we all have the things we're working on. And I really love sharing these stories with each other so that we know we're not alone.
Yeah.
And we know there are people out there who can help us and compliment us too. So
awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I love it. And folks, y'all have a fantastic rest of the day here on Tuesday. We'll see you again this week, I think, with one more Facebook Live. So nothing's going to top how much gold you just got dropped here. So please, please, please make sure to comment on the replay or on live what you got out of this. We're so appreciative of you and glad to have every single one of you in the orbit to watch this. Thanks so much. Y'all take care.